What's up, Max? Steven here from Powell's Power-Ups. I have an overview video for you for your Yoda lightsaber. The installation on it is complete. This is a nifty little lightsaber. I like it because it's really tiny. It's definitely different from a lot of the other lightsabers that I've worked on. We've got a lithium-ion battery, NeoPixel setup, Golden Harvest version 3 phase 4 soundboard. I've set it up to run with a 1-button operation, but it can also do 2-button because it is wired for 2-button if you just want to change that in configuration. But I'll go over why in the video. It was a lot easier to operate as a 1-button lightsaber. You also got a 24mm bass speaker from the Saber Merchant. So let's open it up and see what's in the box. First, we have our printed off instructions on how to operate a 1-button Golden Harvest lightsaber. Everything is here. I'm not going to go over all this with you because it's a pretty extensive list, all of the things that you can do. There's several menus where you can customize. I think there's like 44 blade styles in here with several on top styles as well that you can customize all on the fly. There's even volume menus, there's color menus, and there's just a lot that this thing can do even though it's 1 button. So here is your instructions. Keep that handy when you first get your lightsaber so you can refer to it as you go. And then when we open up our box here, we got a few things. We got our lightsaber, we'll go over in a minute. We got our battery. So you use a smaller lithium-ion battery in this lightsaber, which doesn't hurt to use a smaller one because it's a smaller blade. You're not using as much power, so you can get away with a smaller one. This is an 18500 lithium-ion battery, keep power with 1500 milliamp hours. So you got a little case for it. I'll make sure it's charged and ready to go. But I'm going to keep that right here next to the box. We're going to use that here in a minute. For that battery, you have a battery charger, an X-Tar charger. Instructions for it are inside the box right there. I put them on the bottom because they didn't fit in any of these holes. Here you have a little Ziploc baggie with your Allen wrench for your blade retention. Set that aside. We're going to use it here in a moment. We also have a blade plug. So this is a blade plug for just aesthetics reasons, for if you wanted to, put the saber up on display as like a shelf queen or something, you could put this blade plug inside. It was in the parts, and I assume that's what it's for. It's a 7/8 inch. I 3D printed a plastic cover to go on the bottom, so it's plastic on the bottom, not metal. That way you can actually use it in your lightsaber. You don't have to worry about the metal blade plug shorting the electronics and frying the electronics in your lightsaber, because I got this plastic bottom on the side. So you got that in a little Ziploc baggie inside of your kit. You had 2 pummels in the kit. One pummel is a screen accurate pummel that is in a little Ziploc bag here. It's just flat on the bottom. There's 0 holes for sound venting, so that one I just kept in the bag because I know you like your sabers loud. But on the saber itself, I put the vented one with holes so that you could hear it. So we're going to go over the lightsaber now. Put the box aside. You also, by the way, you can see here, you got a 24-inch long, 7/8 inch outer diameter, brand new, hand built by me, NeoPixel lightsaber blade, the NeoPixel connector on the end of it from the custom saber shop. So that's there. We're going to use it here in a minute for a demo. So here is the lightsaber all put together, ready to go. Nifty little thing, very, very small. So I'm going to point something out. Let me get something to point with here. You'll notice this little square box, activation box on the inside of this section here. That's your button. Now, when I originally wired this, the original setup, this is a 2-switch lightsaber. The top, if you were to push the top of this button above the light right there, would be power. If you were to push the bottom of it, would be auxiliary. However, when I set it up that way originally, this is such a small lightsaber and my fingers are so big because this is Yoda's, it was really hard. I had to try to use my fingernails to click just the top or just the bottom. It was really hard to do the top because of that light there. But I kept hitting, because it's so small and they're so close together, a lot of times the saber was hitting both buttons at once, even though you're just hitting one or the other. So I found it didn't do it all the time, but it did do it sometimes. So to alleviate that problem, I was like, well, this is a lot easier to hit the bottom end of the switch because the front is raised a lot higher than the bottom. It's a lot easier to just have one on the bottom. So I switched the power and auxiliary wiring, switched it to one switch in the configuration. So now you have one button set up, which is basically just by pushing on the bottom of this button, which works a lot better with our big human-sized thumbs or fingers if you want to switch and do a finger. So it's a one button setup right now. You can try that. I like it. I think it works more optimally. If you want to try a 2-button setup, it's wired for that. All you have to do is go into the configuration on the SD card. You have to change 2 things. You have to change the button setup from a 2 to a 4. I'm sorry, backwards. From a 4 to a 2. And then that will make it into 2-button mode. And then you would want to reverse the buttons to make the top power and the bottom auxiliary, or you don't have to do that if you wanted the bottom to be power and the top to be auxiliary. But I warn you, if you do that, it is very difficult to operate, especially when hitting the top of this button. But it's wired that way if you want to try it. So right now it's one button though, and that's what we're going to go with. So you have NeoPixel obviously set up. You have a version 3 stock custom works NPXL connector, 16 LEDs in there, super bright. You have NeoPixel LED that lights up this little accent here. And then you have another NeoPixel light that's actually part of a whole strip that lights up your actual activation button there. So I'll go ahead and unscrew the pummel. We'll get out the chassis and take a look. Right off the bat, you'll notice there is a spacer, a little 3D printed speaker spacer. That helps secure the chassis into the hilt and also, prevents the speaker from hitting the back inside of the pummel. So I'll include an extra one of those for you in case you lose it. And then this is your chassis, which is one solid piece that just slides all the way out. It's fully removable. So you got this little accent piece here. This light is what this LED lights up. Okay, this whole strip right here lights up is kind of an accent strip. There's your 2 buttons, the bottom one being the single button that we're using. We're not using the top one right now, but it is all wired up, and you can use it if you just change the configuration on the SD card. So this strip here, this LED here, and all these LEDs, they just mirror or match whatever the main blade's doing right now. So with the Yoda font that I put on here, obviously a green standard flicker, everything just flickers green. Smuggler's Outpost, or maybe, no, this is from the Saber Merchant, 24mm bass speaker there on the bottom. This is your Golden Harvest version 3 with phase 4 firmware on it. You do not have to lift this board up to access the SD card. So normally the battery section, I round it right there like this, but on the positive end I kept it flat there so that you could just access your SD card pretty easily, especially if you have a pair of tweezers. Just grab it and pull it out. Maybe your fingers work better. Just a little wiggle, so there it comes out. So you don't even have to lift this up. But if you need to lift it up, if that's easier for you, then you can. Make sure your battery's out. You take something like a pair of tweezers, you just kind of pry up at one of the ends, and as you can see, it pops up there. Then you just use your thumbs, press it back down inside until it's nice and secure and snug. And then you are pretty much ready to rock. I'm going to get it in there nice and perfect for you right now. Alright, battery compartment is right here. You got a channel in the bottom of it for the speaker and negative side of the battery wires to run to your board through. Those are totally fine. Your battery kind of pushes them down into the channel whenever you insert it. Negative side of the battery, which is the flat side, goes against the spring side of your battery, or spring side of your chassis is negative. Whenever you pop it in, you get a boot sound. There are 16 stock fonts on here, which are really great smooth swing fonts. And then I added one font, which is the K Sith font called Grandmaster. It's his Yoda font. So it's an amazing font on here. I can't add all the other fonts that I normally add on your sabers, like onto the Profi board ones, because I would have to go into every single one of those fonts and rename almost every single file, or a lot of the files, to make it work on Golden Harvest. So if you want to do that, you totally can go into your fonts. The manual will tell you, you know, what to change, what the names of the files need to be, and then you would just change the names of the files and then copy paste them onto the SD card. And there's no micro USB port on this Golden Harvest, just the SD card. Everything is done right here on that, just by changing stuff on the SD card. So your battery's in. You have gesture controls. You have swing on. So we'll take a moment so you can see your LEDs. Yep. Right, and then you have twist off, just like a kind of like a Profi board. Or maybe it's just one direction. Profi board, you kind of go back and forth. On the Golden Harvest, you just go one direction. So instead of coming back and forth, I just twist to turn off. So you have gesture controls like that. Keep in mind when the battery's in, these pins here are electrically charged. You cannot touch them to anything metal or conductive, or you could short and fry your electronics. So keep that in mind. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this back into the lightsaber now. I'll show you the steps of how to do that. The lightsaber, these switches, right? The little switch button just floats. See how it's moving? So you want those to be facing down so they can hang down. That way you can insert your chassis. So I'm gonna do it downwards. Switches on bottom. It's a little snug at first. Just twist it a little bit until it goes in. Dude, it always acts silly for me on camera. I'm just doing it like this. I'm going to try to do it on camera so you can see. Switches in there are on the bottom, right? I'm going to put the switches on the bottom of the chassis. And then I'm going to slowly insert it. I'm going to try to keep it straight as I can, drop it in. Now, once I got it dropped in, it's straight. I need to put the pommel on, but if I just start screwing the pommel on, it'll spin the chassis and it'll knock the button and chassis buttons out of alignment. So I'm going to hold the button down on the chassis. Balance. As I hold the button down, I'll screw on. See, my thumb's holding it down so the chassis doesn't twist. I'll screw on my pommel.
Master Yoda.
So I went back to the Master Yoda font. So, NPXL connector, LED lighting up that accent LED, and then your button gets lit up too. So I'll pop in a blade and just show it off. I'm not going to go over everything that it does. I'll leave that to you with the instructions, just to take your time with it, mess around with it. It's a different board, so it will take some time to get used to. But I think it's definitely worth it to have, you know, a board from all of the board makers. So when it comes to putting in your blade, make sure you have the blade fully inserted against the spring pins. This little thumb screw here, this black one, is not the thumb screw for your blade. There's actually a little retention screw right here on the front side, opposite side of the metal shroud for blade retention. So I'm going to hold that in, hold the blade in, tighten this down, and that's how we insert our blade. So I'll turn the camera now and do a little demonstration for you. Alright, just a quick demo so you know it works. Ignition. Get your smooth swing. Swing sounds. Got stabbing. Get clashing. Might have to adjust the sensitivity on that. Get blasters. Force effects.
Around the survivors a perimeter create. Concentrate all your fire on the nearest starship.
Twist off, right? Swing on. So there it is, man. Cool saber. Hope you enjoy it. Take some time, play with it, learn how to use the operation. Use your instructions to help you out, and you'll be good to go.